Let's talk about Taiwan, a small island you might know for bubble tea or Made in Taiwan stickers, but it's actually the center of a global power struggle. Despite being smaller than Maryland, Taiwan sits at the heart of a standoff between the US and China, two superpowers whose rivalry could upend the world economy. What happens in Taiwan affects your phone, your car, and global stability. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province, while the US keeps everyone guessing with its strategic ambiguity. The people of Taiwan have built a vibrant democracy and want nothing to do with Beijing's rule. To understand why this matters so much, we need to take a quick trip into Taiwan's dramatic past. Long before the world's attention turned to Taiwan's modern political drama, this island was home to indigenous Austronesian peoples for thousands of years. These early inhabitants developed rich cultures, languages, and traditions, many of which still survive today in remote villages and annual festivals. Their deep connection to the land shaped Taiwan's earliest identity, and their descendants remain a vital part of the island's cultural mosaic. In the 1600s, Han Chinese settlers began arriving, seeking new opportunities and fertile land. However, for centuries, the powerful Qing dynasty in China saw Taiwan as a distant, sometimes unruly frontier, more of a buffer zone than a core part of the empire. The island was a crossroads where indigenous groups, Chinese settlers, and even pirates clashed and mingled. Everything changed in 1895 when China lost a war to Japan and was forced to hand over Taiwan. For the next 50 years, Japan ruled the island, building railways, schools, and modern infrastructure. Japanese influence touched every aspect of life, from food to architecture, and left a lasting mark on the island's development. Under Japanese rule, a unique Taiwanese identity began to emerge, one that was distinct from both the Chinese mainland and Japan itself. Many Taiwanese learned Japanese, adopted new customs, and experienced rapid modernization, but also faced discrimination and pressure to assimilate. After World War II, Taiwan was handed back to China, but the transition was anything but smooth. The Kuomintang, or KMT, took control, but their rule was marked by corruption, economic hardship, and growing resentment. In 1947, tensions exploded in the tragic 2/28 incident, when government forces brutally cracked down on protesters, leaving thousands dead or missing. The trauma of the 2/28 incident left deep scars on the island's collective memory, fueling decades of distrust toward mainland Chinese rule and shaping Taiwan's modern political consciousness. Taiwan's story is a complex tapestry woven from indigenous roots, waves of Chinese migration, half a century of Japanese colonization, and years of political upheaval. Each era added new layers to the island's identity, making it unlike anywhere else in the region. Today, Taiwan is not just a so-called rebel province, it's a vibrant, modern society with its own language, culture, and democratic government. Its people have forged a unique path, drawing from their diverse past to create something entirely their own. This long and complicated history set the stage for the tensions and challenges Taiwan faces today as it navigates its relationship with China and the wider world. The real split began with the Chinese Civil War. The nationalists, Kuomintang, and communists fought for control. By 1949, Mao's communists won the mainland. Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists fled to Taiwan, taking the government, treasures, and 2 million followers. In Beijing, Mao declared the People's Republic of China. Suddenly there were two governments, each claiming to be the real China. The PRC controlled the mainland, the ROC controlled Taiwan and a few islands. Both saw the other as illegitimate. For decades, Taiwan's government claimed it would retake the mainland while China threatened invasion. The Korean War brought the US Navy to the Taiwan Strait, freezing the conflict. This tense standoff has lasted over 70 years. For decades after World War II, most of the world recognized Taiwan's government, officially known as the Republic of China, as the legitimate government of all China. This was largely a result of Cold War politics, where the world was divided into two camps: the Western Bloc, led by the United States, and the Eastern Bloc, led by the Soviet Union. The US and its allies supported Taiwan, seeing it as a bulwark against communism in Asia, while the People's Republic of China, or PRC, was largely isolated on the global stage. But by the 1970s, the world began to change. China's sheer size and growing influence made it impossible to ignore. many countries started to reconsider their stance, realizing that engaging with the PRC could open up new economic and strategic opportunities. The global mood was shifting, and the isolation of China was no longer seen as sustainable. The turning point came in 1972 when US President Richard Nixon made his historic visit to Beijing. This unprecedented move signaled a dramatic shift in US foreign policy. The United States saw value in partnering with China as a counterbalance to the Soviet Union, and Nixon's handshake with Chairman Mao Zedong became a symbol of this new era. In 1971, the United Nations voted to give China's seat to the PRC, effectively expelling Taiwan from the organization. This was a major blow to Taiwan's international standing. By 1979, the United States officially switched diplomatic recognition from Taipei to Beijing, following the lead of many other countries. As a result, Taiwan lost its UN seat and became a diplomatic outcast almost overnight. Its government was no longer recognized by most of the world, and its voice was silenced in major international forums. Today, only a handful of mostly small countries officially recognize Taiwan. Most nations, including major powers, have chosen to establish formal ties with Beijing instead, leaving Taiwan in a precarious position on the world stage. However, the United States did not abandon Taiwan completely. In 1979, Congress passed the Taiwan Relations Act, which allowed for unofficial relations and continued arms sales to Taiwan, ensuring that the island could still defend itself. Officially, Washington recognizes Beijing as the sole legal government of China. But in practice, the US maintains strong unofficial ties with Taiwan and continues to support its defense, walking a diplomatic tightrope between the two sides. This confusing and often contradictory arrangement has persisted for decades. While it may seem unstable, it has actually helped maintain a fragile peace in the region, preventing open conflict between China and Taiwan. Today, Taiwan remains in diplomatic limbo, unrecognized by most, yet thriving and resilient. Its survival depends on a delicate balance of ambiguity, international support, and the determination of its people to chart their own course in a complex world. Enter the One China policy, a masterpiece of diplomatic vagueness. It's a policy that's been carefully crafted over decades, designed to keep the peace while leaving just enough room for everyone to interpret it in their own way. In the world of international relations, it's almost an art form, saying just enough to keep everyone talking but never so much that you're pinned down. China's stance is crystal clear, at least on paper. There's only one China, and Taiwan is an inseparable part of it. This is the foundation of Beijing's foreign policy, and it's repeated in every official statement, every press conference, and every international negotiation. For China, there's no room for debate. Taiwan is a province, not a country. The United States, on the other hand, takes a different approach. It acknowledges China's position, but stops short of fully endorsing it. This careful choice of words is no accident. It's a deliberate strategy. By never fully agreeing, the US keeps its diplomatic options open, allowing it to adapt as the situation evolves. This ambiguity is the secret sauce. It lets the US maintain formal diplomatic relations with Beijing, while also keeping unofficial but meaningful ties with Taipei. Behind closed doors, American officials meet with their Taiwanese counterparts, sign trade deals, and even provide military support, all without ever crossing the line into formal recognition. It's a delicate balancing act. China claims Taiwan as its own, Taiwan continues to govern itself as a de facto independent nation, and the US walks a diplomatic tightrope, supporting Taiwan's security and democracy, but always careful not to provoke a direct conflict with Beijing. In this arrangement, everyone gets something, but no one gets everything they want. China gets international acknowledgement of its claim, the US gets strategic flexibility, and Taiwan gets support without official recognition. But this fragile balance is under increasing strain. China is growing more assertive, flexing its military and economic muscles. Meanwhile, Taiwan has blossomed into a vibrant democracy, with a unique identity that's increasingly distinct from the mainland. Today, most Taiwanese see themselves as separate from China, proudly embracing their own culture, values, and political system. This growing sense of identity directly challenges Beijing's narrative and makes the old diplomatic formulas harder to sustain. The old language of diplomacy, carefully worded statements and strategic ambiguity, is running out of road. The world is changing, and so are the expectations of the people involved. As tensions rise in the Taiwan Strait, the status quo is becoming harder and harder to maintain. The world is watching, and the next move could reshape the region and the world for years to come. Why does the world care so much about Taiwan? One word: semiconductors. Taiwan, especially TSMC, makes over 90% of the world's most advanced microchips, vital for everything from iPhones to fighter jets. If TSMC's factories were disrupted, the global tech supply chain would collapse, triggering a worldwide recession. This silicon shield makes Taiwan crucial to the global economy and a tempting target for China. China relies on these chips too, so attacking Taiwan would hurt itself and the world. But controlling Taiwan would give China huge leverage. That's why the US and others are scrambling to build their own chip factories. For now, the world's tech heartbeat is on an island under constant threat. Taiwan's economic importance raises the stakes for everyone. Tensions are higher than ever. China, under Xi Jinping, has made reunification with Taiwan a top priority, ramping up military pressure and intimidation. Chinese jets and warships regularly test Taiwan's defenses, rehearsing for possible conflict. Meanwhile, Taiwan's democracy has grown stronger, with the Democratic Progressive Party championing a distinct Taiwanese identity. The more democratic Taiwan becomes, the less it resembles a Chinese province. This cycle of Chinese threats and Taiwanese defiance only deepens the divide. The US tries to support Taiwan without provoking war, sending officials and warships as signals. Beijing sees these moves as interference, raising the risk of miscalculation. Every action and reaction makes the situation more precarious. The danger of conflict is real and growing. What do the people of Taiwan want? Most prefer the status quo, not unification, not formal independence, just peace and stability. They value their democracy and have little trust in Beijing, especially after seeing Hong Kong's freedoms eroded. More and more, especially young people, identify as Taiwanese, not Chinese. This generational shift makes unification even less likely. On the mainland, public opinion is shaped by government propaganda, fueling nationalism and making compromise harder. The gap in identity and expectations between Taiwan and China keeps widening. The will of the people is a major obstacle to Beijing's ambitions. The situation is unstable: a rising China, a defiant Taiwan, and a US trying to prevent disaster. The best hope is to maintain the status quo, deterrence, diplomacy, and making Taiwan too costly to attack. Maybe over time, new leaders or changing priorities will open a path to peace. But some fear time is running out, and that China may act soon, risking catastrophic war. The future depends on military balance, economic ties, and wise leadership. Can diplomacy and shared interests outweigh nationalism and history? A war over Taiwan would be a global catastrophe, a failure of statecraft on a historic scale. The challenge is to keep this cold conflict from ever turning hot.